Last week saw the release of the B-Wing in Star Wars Squadrons, and I've been experimenting with this bodacious beast ever since then, trying to come up with an effective loadout for you all to use in your ranked fleet battles. I've got to be honest, it's been a bit of a struggle. While this thing is capable of dealing incredible damage, it's also a bit of a glass cannon compared to other Republic ships that can rely on their shields and maneuverability to survive, where this barely has as much shield as an A-Wing and flies like the Titanic. But if you can use it effectively, it's also capable of helping carry your teams towards the victory in ranked fleet battles. What's up, you guys? I'm not amazing, I'm just mediocre, and we're looking at the B-Wing today, trying to give you the most effective loadout for helping your team win ranked fleet battles, which I believe lies in capital ship damage. We're going to get started by looking at the loadout itself and then describe how to use it in fleet battles. I'm going to equip the standard laser cannon instead of the rotary cannon because I'm not really looking for all that much DPS and I'm not actually trying to get that close to capital ships. I also like the only 45% penalty you get from the standard laser cannons as opposed to the 60% you get from those rotary cannons. For the auxiliaries, I'm doubling up on torpedoes. I'm going to take the ion torpedo for destroying capital ship shields, and then the proton torpedo for following up with that raw hull damage. Especially considering the B-Wing is the only bomber that can hold ion torpedoes, I feel like this is the best way to maximize your damage potential against capital ships. For the countermeasures, I'm using particle burst, the best for countering missiles, especially multiples locking on at a time. And then for the hull, I'm taking the reflect hull. Even though it does give you a big hit to your max health, you do get the passive stealth outside of 1500 meters from enemy players, and this is extremely useful in fleet battles, especially with big maps. Next, we're going to follow up that reflect hull with a component I had overlooked in the past, but have now become a huge fan of. This is the resonant shield. It's described as giving rapid laser recharge when shields are fully overcharged but lower max shields. And you can see conditional laser recharge plus 100%. I didn't realize this actually allows you to overcharge your lasers, and as you can see right there, it also gives the benefit of no shield decay. So as long as you have fully overcharged shields, you'll also be fully overcharging your lasers at the same time. I'll show this off in a little bit. Finally, we're going to use the thrust engine. Because the B-Wing is an incredibly slow craft, I want to have some extra speed to be able to perform the hit and run tactics that I'm planning to do, and the thrust engine is exactly made for that. Great for hit and run tactics. Let's go ahead and show you what this looks like when you're flying it in your ranked fleet battles. First, I wanted to give you a quick demonstration of the benefits of that resonant shield. If you watch, I'll overcharge my shields here, and once they are fully overcharged at the max meter, you'll notice that my lasers begin to overcharge as well. And while my shields stay completely overcharged, I can switch my power over to my engines, get that extra speed, build my boost meter, while my lasers are overcharging at the same time. This is honestly a ridiculously powerful component that I had overlooked in the past. Now, as far as your initial strategy when you launch out of the gate, I think your best bet is to try to take down the Raider. The B-Wing is not the best dogfighter, not at all. So the best thing you can do for your team is try to lay out some heavy damage on that Raider with your proton torpedoes and your laser cannons that you have, ideally overcharged from those resonant shields, and you'll be able to take that thing out actually relatively quickly, especially if you have anybody helping you out, at least one or two other players putting damage on that Raider. It can go down really fast. However, I would highly recommend against trying to mix it up in dogfights with your B-Wing. While you are capable of doing incredible damage, you're also a really easy target to hit. It's not going to take very long for someone to find you. You are very easy to spot craft, and you're also going to find it's very difficult to get away from anybody when you're in a B-Wing. Even if you have the thrust engines equipped, if you let someone get you close and dead in their sights, it's pretty much game over. In fact, for those of you who might be solo queuing into high levels of ranked fleet battles, I'd recommend keeping this loadout in your back pocket and starting off with something like an A-wing or an X-wing that's going to be more effective in the initial dogfighting phase before switching out for the B-wing. As soon as that morale is pushed to your side, you can rush back to your team's flagship and flip out for the B-wing, which is going to be able to put out that capital ship damage, which is vital for passing the next phase of the battle. Now, as far as this part goes, in order to maximize the effectiveness of your reflect hull, you're going to try to target the capital ship that everybody else is avoiding, if that's possible. Like here in this particular ranked battle, I had the entire other team over on C, leaving me alone at D, and I was able to continuously make attack runs on this cruiser, ripping its shields off with my first ion torpedo and then laying into it with successive proton torpedoes. I only had one person come over here to try to stop me the entire time, and I was almost able to destroy it entirely before they flipped the battle on us. And then as soon as the battle flips on us, if you want to stay in your B-wing, the best thing you can do is try to take out that raider as fast as possible. Just like it destroys flagship shields, it's going to destroy that raider shield really effectively. So one torpedo takes those shields off, and then you can follow it up with even more proton torpedo damage on the raider. That's going to be the most effective way to use this B-wing loadout for your team if you choose not to fly back to your hangar and switch out for something that's more effective at dogfighting like the X-wing or A-wing. But you definitely shouldn't go trying to dogfight with your B-wing. This is not an effective dogfighting just starfighter. You're not going to be able to turn fast enough to keep up with the enemies that are shooting, and you're just going to be too slow in general as well. Plus, you're also going to be too weak to stand up to anybody who tries to fight back against you. So stick to the capital ship destruction. When the morale flips back to your side, once again, try to target that capital ship that everybody else is avoiding. Lay in with those proton torpedoes and then just get onto the enemy flagship as fast as possible. And then once you're there, it's going to be another matter of trying to start off with those ion torpedoes. We're trying to maximize the effectiveness of the reflect hull, and the best way to do that is to try and stay as far away from the enemy as possible. So you're not necessarily trying to get in up close at first. You're trying to stay only far enough away that you can get your lock on with your ion torpedo and shoot a couple of those off first. Then once you have those ion torpedoes in, the enemy shields have been knocked down, then you can actually try to target those subsystems with your proton torpedoes, or even get close enough to hit them with your primary laser cannons and do some extra damage that way. If you destroy any subsystems, more power to you, but you are very likely to be ripped to shreds by enemy players if you get any closer than 1,000 meters to your target, because the B-wing is such a large and slow-moving starfighter. But if you've been taking advantage of your reflect hull earlier in the round and you have a relatively low death count, it might be worth it to make that sacrificial play to destroy the enemy shield generators, opening up the Star Destroyer to be finished off by somebody else on your team. Once again, destroying shields, ion damage doesn't really count to your score, so this isn't necessarily a loadout that's going to get you on the scoreboard. It's also very situational, not one that I'd use very much on defense. But for offense, it's extremely powerful at destroying enemy capital ships, and I'd highly recommend it for that purpose. I hope you guys learned something from watching this video. If you did, drop a like on it, and if you want to learn a little bit more about how to use the TIE Defender effectively, go ahead and click the video you see on your screen right now. I hope to see you guys there in the next one. In the meantime, I'm not amazing, I'm just mediocre, and I'm out.